to create a master button for your website, the first thing you want to do is in Drive, go to the folder where you want to keep your buttons. So for instance here, I might go inside of my Google folder and create a new folder that is specifically for a site that I'm going to make. So I'll make this for my English 4 website. All right, once I'm inside that folder and I know exactly where my file is going to be, you can always move files later, but it's nice to start where you know you want them. Click the New button, go down to More, and select Drawings. All of my folders are shared, at least with myself, so I always get that little warning. So now I have an untitled drawing, and I'm going to give that just a second to finish loading, and once it's loaded, we'll see the little folder icon and everything here, and we'll know that it's ready to go. There it is. All right, so then I can title this, and I always name my master as master. And, oops, I did not wait long enough. Okay, let's try this again. So, master E4 button. Okay, so now I have a blank slate, and I can change the size and shape of this, or I can go to the File menu to Page Setup, and I can set it to a very specific custom width based on inches or centimeters or pixels or however I want to do that. For right now, I'm just going to leave it default and decide kind of based on the image I choose. So the way I like to select images for just a new button that I'm starting out with is to use the image button here. And then if you use the Google search option, it will automatically limit to results that are already labeled for commercial reuse with modifications. So I can use those and I can modify them without worrying about copyright laws or violating anything like that. So of course, anything that is a logo or is clearly owned by someone, you do want to make sure that you're using it according to branding guidelines. But for now, we can do something as simple as typing in button, and you can select color palettes to narrow that down. So if, for instance, I just want something clean that I'll be able to, write on, I might choose something with a light background and use a dark font, or I might choose something with a dark background and use a white font. So let's try this blue button and see how that looks. And it'll typically bring that image in as large as it can. And I always like to make sure, if it brings it in centered, I always like to make sure that I put it very close to the edge. I usually leave just a tiny bit of space, but I put it right up as close to that top left corner as I can. Then it's easy to resize to the shape of that button and not go too, like if it's centered, I'll have a lot of blank space around it. So if I look at that now, I can notice my edge is very close on all sides, but I still want to center that image. Okay, now I need to add a text box. So I'm just going to click away so that I'm looking at my button clean, and go up here and select text box. And I usually go corner to corner so that I'm getting a pretty centered text box. And then within that text box, all you have to do is, if it doesn't automatically bring up your cursor, just double click in it. You can also use a shape. Shapes will automatically have a text box option. All you have to do is double click in any shape that you add from the shapes menu here. so now I can type in just what my text would be, so I can take a look at how this would turn out. So if, for instance, I want to make this my literature button, I can type in literature and then select that, and now I can choose my fonts and sizes. So you always have more fonts, so if you don't find what you want in the defaults, you can always go in and add additional fonts to your list. I want to do something nice and clean. Obviously, for this, we need to make it larger. Let's take a look at some different sizes here. I want to make it so that it doesn't wrap around, but so that it is filling up most of the space in whatever direction it is the longest. And if I have more than one word, for instance, this might be British literature, I can put that in there. Now I'm going to do Control A to select all of my text and go up here to the alignment, and I can center this horizontally and I can center it vertically. So now it's centered within that space. And if I just really want to make sure that my text box is centered within my image, if I get where I have anytime you see the four-way crosshair, I can then move that until I'm sure that it is centered. So there we go. And so there's no guesswork involved. I can center it right in there. Now, if I like the way that looks, then I can duplicate this very easily. So what I would do if I'm done with that one, I can download it as a PNG, or I can just use it straight from my drive. Typically, since you want to save it as an image to use it as a button, I would go File, Download as PNG, and then give it, save that image as a PNG and change the name on this one to British Literature. But since I'm using this as my master, it's all good to go.